What's up, guys?
Hello.
Rob from Sound of Music. I would like to introduce, for the very first time on this channel, because you've been on Kuroda Kaisuki a ton, my wife, Rachel.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Would you like to tell everybody what we're going to be talking about today? Because this was your idea.
So, I'll give you the history. So, I realized in last couple of years, because of the busyness of life, I've been listening to a lot less music. And, you know, this is distressing to me because music is something that so enhances life. I feel like it really just added a lot to my daily life when I was listening to music a lot.
Of course.
So I was like, what's going to help us get back in the zone? And by us, I mean you and I, because I started dragging you into this. So I was like, hey, buddy, do you want to do a music challenge? Something where we're listening to music every day, you know, and then,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. My response to this was, of course, I love music, and I have to admit that, you know, we've been doing the Bowie discography series. We were doing the King Crimson discography series and everything. I have also, I would say, up until the last couple months, have listened to music a lot less in recent years, which is a shame. Especially, I mean, God, when we first started dating, we were listening to music constantly, it felt like. So, yeah, I was totally on board as well to just be able to jump back in, listen to a bunch of old albums, listen to a bunch of new stuff. So, this was your idea to do like a 30-day album challenge.
Yeah, because I mean, we could just be like, oh, well, we'll listen to more music, but I feel like when you have a project, at least for me, there's incentive there, so...
And so I think it was your idea to do like a 30-day album challenge,
It was,
wasn't it?
yes.
Did you read about it or something? Or
no, I forget where I got the idea from, but then I looked it up and there was a bunch of stuff that popped up, so yeah.
So what we did was we actually found like an image on Google Images, and it just had for each day for 30 days a different topic. So what we did is we went through all of it, and it was actually 30 songs in 30 days, so we just changed that to albums. And then we just went through everything. We took out the stuff we didn't like some of the topics we didn't like, and then we added stuff we just kind of thought of, and we kept the stuff that we did like. So, long story short with this, we basically chose 30 albums, 30 different albums, and they were based off of just a different theme every day.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. It was a really unique way to do it.
I loved it.
I won't spoil it yet. We are talking about possibly following this up with another 30-day album challenge, but we're not going to do that for this month, the month of July.
So
this is
at some point.
This is for all of the month of June. So from June 1st to June 30th, we were doing this, and I think we were pretty consistent. You know, there was a couple days, I will admit, where I only listened to like half of the album and then finished it the next day.
Yeah, same.
But the spirit of it was there. And then, I don't know about you, but after a couple weeks, it ended up being way more than just an album a day that I was listening to. Like, that was...
I think that was just you.
Maybe that was just me, but like, then I especially at work and stuff, I'd be putting on more music, and it's just, to me, and I think for both of us, it's achieved that goal of listening to more music. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And Daisy's here.
It's been very nice. I'm patting Daisy in case anyone is wondering what I'm doing.
So anyway, I think that's enough of an intro and context of whatever. We got aviators on. We're ready to talk about music. And yeah, let's do it. So for day one, the first topic was an album with a number in the title. For me, I chose the album 347 EST by a band called Klaatu. Love their name, by the way. It's based off of the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, and the main character's name is Klaatu, so that's awesome. They're a Canadian prog rock band that I've heard a while back, and I mentioned on that prog tier list video that I wanted to listen to them again. So I had recently done that video when we first started this album challenge, so I was like, oh, I'm going to start with that because I wanted to hear them again. I loved it. I hadn't heard it in a while. I thought it was really good. It's like if the Beatles did a prog rock album. It was pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. What'd you pick?
I picked Four-Way Street by Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young.
Very nice.
Which is, for anyone who hasn't heard it, an amazing album. If you're into the folkier side of the 70s. I loved it. That's an album from when I was a teenager. I listened to it all the time. I loved it. Of course, the Neil Young songs are the best. That's what I think. You know, like I feel like he didn't really fit into the group, but he was a great addition, and he made them better than just Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And it's just a good album.
Classic live album right there.
I love it. Yeah, and you listened to it with me.
Yes, I did listen to it with you. Yeah, we also. I think you have that on vinyl too, don't you? Pretty sure. I
have a lot of vinyl, and I never know what I have.
I think she's got that one on vinyl. I'm like almost certain she has that one on vinyl.
Quite
anyway, we got way more to go, so let's go. So number 2, day 2 was a childhood album. I chose an album that I've literally not heard since I first started getting into music. It was the first Christmas after I got into music, and my dad gave me a couple CDs, and one of which I listened to a bunch around that year and probably haven't heard it since. And it's a live album by AC/DC called AC/DC Live. That was really cool to hear again.
What era? Like, are we talking?
We're talking. It was like early '92, I think it came out.
Okay,
so it's Brian Johnson, but he does like they do the Jack, they do TNT.
Oh, interesting.
They do Highway to Hell. It's a really excellent live album, honestly. That band has so much energy live, and I thought it was great. I loved it.
They're great. You can't go wrong with
them.
And
it was a real trip because I haven't heard that since probably I was 15 years old, 14 years old, something like that. Yeah.
Cool.
So what'd you pick?
And I chose Gordon by the Bare Naked Ladies, which it's great. You should hear it. I feel like they come across as a really goofy band, and they are goofy, but that album's actually really good. And I might be biased because that's obviously from my childhood, and I chose it because it's something I don't think I ever would have come across if it wasn't for the fact that my family had the CD.
And you saw them live, didn't you?
Yeah, that's actually another thing. They were the first band that I ever saw live. I was a child, and I saw them in my home city, so
nice.
In the 90s.
Cool, that's awesome.
And I also saw them on New Year's Eve many years later, so... I'm not even a big fan, really.
Was it a nostalgia trip for you, hearing it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, number 3, an album you discovered from the month before, so it would have been May. We changed that a little bit, I think, to an album that we discovered recently. At least I did.
I did as well, the most recent discovery.
And I listened to an album, and this is a shout out to my co-host, Andy, of course, who does the whole podcast on this channel with me. And I listened to Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, because we did that video together of our number one favorite albums. Of course, I heard several songs from it before, but that was really not the first time I heard it, maybe the second time I heard it, but the first time I really tried to listen to it, and I really liked it. It was really good.
It was good.
It's very, it's definitely got a very layered and unique sound. It's pretty, for the Beach Boys, you don't normally think of them as being sort of this, intricate band, but they are. They're really good. So, I enjoyed it. I want to listen to it more, and yeah, Pet Sounds, classic. Thanks, Andy.
I liked it too. And I chose Gasoline Alley by Rod Stewart.
Nice. Nice.
I actually got into that a few months ago, but that was the most recent thing. So, in recent years, I've really been getting into Rod Stewart. I feel like I didn't really give I didn't give him enough credit years ago. I thought I don't know why. I just thought I wouldn't like his music, but his music from the 70s is really great, and I really recommend it. Again, for anyone who's into kind of the folkier side of the 70s. I don't know what else to say about it, but
I've been really enjoying listening to it too, because she's been playing it a bunch, and I also have to admit, as a huge anybody who knows me knows the 70s classic rock, that's my thing. I really, aside from the hits, really didn't know much Rod Stewart. I've been enjoying it. Every picture tells a story.
Oh yeah.
The one I just got you on vinyl.
Never a Dull Moment.
Yeah, Never a Dull Moment.
And the Gasoline Alley was great too.
Yeah. So
the thing I love the very most is the heavy use of the mandolin. I feel like that's always a plus in my books.
Not off of that album, Gasoline Alley, but the song Mandolin Wind is perfection.
So listen to Rod Stewart, everybody.
And you should look into the Faces as well. That's what he did before.
I should.
Yeah.
I might do that.
Okay, let's keep going. Number 4 is an album that you'll always love. I was going on a bit of a road trip. I drove home for the weekend down to Jersey, so I had a 3-hour trip. So there was only one band that I could really think of for this category, and that band is Rush. And this is going to be a double one for me, because I listened to Moving Pictures, which is maybe not my favorite album, but it's a really good go-to. Just you got Tom Sawyer, you got Limelight, you got YYZ, You got all that stuff. And then I followed it up with Signals right after on the ride. It was a beautiful sunny day. It reminded me of all those times, you know, that I went and saw Rush with my friends. Excellent. I just enjoyed the heck out of it.
I don't know if I've ever heard Signals.
It has Subdivisions on it. I've played it for you.
Yeah, I know Subdivisions, but yeah.
It's got like the
Moving
Analog
Pictures
Kid.
is good, though.
Yeah, you'd probably like the Signals is the follow-up album.
Oh.
I think you'd probably like it. Yeah, it's a really good album.
To hear it. Although I feel like my tolerance for Rush is not what yours is.
Fair.
But anyway. I chose Teaser in the Fire Cat by Cat Stevens, which is like one of my favorite albums in this entire world.
Oh, it's classic.
I feel like it's just so... it's just comforting and heartwarming and has some of the most beautiful songs ever. Like the song How Can I Tell You, I think is one of the most lovely songs that there ever was. And I just love Cat Stevens.
That's one of those albums to me that every song is good.
It's a gem.
You know,
like, the whole thing is a classic.
Every single song on that album is good.
It's so good. And Tea for the Tillerman is almost as good.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
also an amazing album, but Teaser in the Fire Cat is just like top 5 albums of my life, you know?
And that would have been the same day that I listened to Moving Pictures, and I remember it being a sunny day and warm, and it's probably...
Teaser in the Fire Cat's good for that kind of weather, yes.
Okay, and speaking of warm and summery, number 5 was a summertime album. I chose Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever. One of my favorite albums. Actually, that album was given to me the same Christmas I got that AC/DC Live album, so it was a bit of a nostalgia trip, I guess, for this couple of days for me, because, yeah, I just kind of listened to it casually. I was in New Jersey, I was making dinner for my family, and while everybody was kind of hanging out outside, I just was in the kitchen, you know, preparing food, and I was listening to Full Moon Fever, and I just really loved it. That's another one, back to front, perfect album. Loved it.
On the topic of Tom Petty, I chose Wildflowers.
Oh yeah, that's right. You told me that. We both picked Tom Petty.
Yeah, because there's just something very, you know, I don't know.
There's nothing like cruising down the road or being outside.
Sunny day. Beautiful weather.
You got Mr. Petty on.
That's Tom Petty, you know.
Oh yeah.
So, and Wildflowers, I mean, obviously, like, I love the title track. It's a beautiful song. Also, it's a song we associate with our daughter, and I mean, just Wildflowers just brings up beautiful weather and nature and stuff, so it's a gem.
And don't forget, let's get to the point. Let's roll another joint. Let's head on down the road. Anyway, yeah, that's yeah, good old Tom Petty. Okay, number 6 this is one I think a topic we came up with, and it was a concept album.
Yeah, I think this was a swap.
Because there's lots and lots of great concept albums. I'm a big fan of them. I did not pick a prog rock album. I went on the metal side of things. I chose The Crimson Idol by Wasp, which I listened to on the way home.
What is the concept to that?
I think you'd actually really like the concept. Blackie has said many times in interviews that a big question that fans asked him were how to get famous, or like how he got where he was. And so in order to answer that, he wanted to show the ugliest side of the music business and the horrible things that can go wrong, and he put it in a concept album. And it's about a boy who dreams to be a rock star, gets what he wants, and
I'm assuming it's about like addiction.
Yeah, addiction,
and, like, alienation.
Yeah, you might actually like that album. I should play that for you sometime.
Yeah,
but yeah, really, really awesome album. Wasp has been a band that I've been, in terms of the metal side of my tastes, I've been really, really getting into the last couple years, and that's their best album, I think, hands down.
Cool.
So cool stuff. There's a lot of acoustic work in it. You probably really like it.
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
So
when metal groups go soft,
yeah,
you know, go acoustic.
Apparently,
it's nice.
Apparently, Blackie was also like incredibly inspired by Quadrophenia, because he's a huge Who fan. So it has that kind of like big drum sound and stuff to it. But it's a great album. I love it.
And on the topic of the Who, I chose Tommy
by
the Who, which is also in the top the top 5 albums of all time that I've, in my opinion. It's a classic. Would it be? I'm assuming it would be called a concept album, although everyone calls it a rock opera.
It's probably I think
the same thing.
I think it's the first.
Right?
I think it's considered the first rock opera concept album.
Well, it's not considered the first concept album. I think isn't that considered? Everyone says Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, but I think like The Who Sell Out came out slightly before that.
Yeah, Freak Out came out before that, which you could argue is a bit of a concept album.
Yeah. But anyway, regardless, it's an enormous album. It's The Who's best. I love it. I could probably sing, like, I could probably a cappella sing the entire album to you. Not that anyone would...
Tommy, can
no one would want me to do that, but...
I'll do it. Can you feel me near you?
Anyway, it's a great album.
Yeah, it's classic.
It's ridiculous. It's awesome.
That would have been...
Music's awesome, you know.
That could have been one I listened to as... I mean, that's just a Stone Cold classic, you know? And
Sure is.
probably the best Who album.
Yep.
So,
Agreed.
awesome. So for day 7, a week in at this point, this album has a location in the title. I chose an album that I've been wanting to re-listen to for a long time and just have not listened to. I chose Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen, which is another album I think you would like.
I'll have to listen to
Which
it.
is, what I like about that album is that it doesn't have that big sound that Bruce is known for. It's just Bruce Springsteen and acoustic guitar.
Which I think I probably would like.
It's very stripped down. It's very dark. And I just, like, song like Atlantic City, it's just got a feeling to it, like that kind of dreary sort of dark feeling to it. Loved it.
Question.
It was great hearing that again.
Why is it called Nebraska?
I don't know.
So
I have no idea.
There's no Nebraska
I don't
song.
know. I don't know. I think, yes, I believe there is a song named Nebraska, but I couldn't tell you. I have to admit I'm not a big lyrics guy. And even though it's a folky album, I couldn't even tell you what the song was about. So that's me.
I see.
Yeah. Not impressed, as you can tell. What'd you pick for your location and title?
I picked Toulouse Street by the Doobie Brothers, which I didn't discover. Well, I didn't even discover it. You introduced it to me like when we were first dating, and you were like, "I think you'll like this," and I loved it immediately. And I feel like I don't really know what to say about it. The Doobie Brothers are just a good time, and
Oh, yeah.
that's it. I have nothing else to say. I love that album.
Listen to the music. Jesus is Just Alright with Me.
It's a great song.
You know?
The White Sun.
Oh, yeah. That's a great song. That's another
Just
top...
such a good album.
We're going through some great albums here. Classic. Speaking of that, as you were just saying about how I introduced you to this, Day 8 was an album somebody introduced you to. I chose an album that this person right here introduced me to, and it was Absolution by Muse, which is a really cool album. I love it. They're almost like a modern prog meets like alternative meets like
Probably considered alternative.
yeah, whatever
that means.
But they're great.
They are good.
I was surprised how much I liked this album when you introduced it to me.
It took you a while to get used to Matt Bellamy's voice.
Yeah, I didn't like his vocals at first, and now I love his vocals. I think he's
They're
excellent.
great. He has an amazing okay, this is your
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You introduced me to the album.
He has an amazing vocal range.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great singer, an amazing piano player.
Yeah.
And
the keyboards on the album,
yeah.
like something like a, what is it called? Apocalypse.
I always confuse the
yeah,
title. Whatever.
The first track is really great. Blackout. Thoughts of a Dying Atheist.
It's all good.
Time is on my side. Just amazing. Or Time is running out. Not Time is on my side.
It's a classic album. Probably their best.
Yeah, it was
so
awesome.
I would recommend it.
I really liked it. What did you pick? Actually, I know what you picked. I remember.
I picked, and we listened to this in the car together. Rob had never heard it before. I picked an album called Sabato Pomeriggio by an Italian artist from the 1970s called named Claudio Baglioni.
That was great.
And this is an album that my dad introduced me to because my dad's Italian. And I picked it because I never would have heard it if it wasn't for my dad. You know, it's not the kind of thing you stumble across randomly.
Yeah.
And it's a great album. I really, I feel like I am a big lyrics person, and obviously I don't know what most of the songs are about, but the music's strong. I love his voice, and
didn't you say your dad would
a good album.
get like all sappy and like be trying to explain to you the lyrics?
Yeah. It seems like based on what my dad's told me that Claudio Baglioni has really like sentimental, over the top, emotional lyrics, and my dad would we'd be listening to this album and another one while driving. My dad would be translating the lyrics and stuff. And
I love your dad.
It was fun, yeah.
It was cool. It was
Yeah.
the first time I heard it too, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good music.
It's very interesting music. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Andy, if you watch this, You would probably really like that album.
It's
Check
like
it out.
70s. You said it had proggy elements, kind of folky. Some people say he's like Italy's answer to Cat Stevens. So
There's a lot of different instruments going on, and the arrangements are just very interesting. They're very different, you know. I don't know
it's good
how
stuff.
else to describe it. That was a cool album. Number 9, day 9 was go-to album. There were so many I could pick, like so many. But a go-to band for me is Jethro Tull, so I went with an album that I really like. I mean, she can attest that Jethro Tull is a go-to band for me. Songs from the Wood, which I talked about in
I love that album.
shameless plug, my top 25 prog rock albums, which will be linked right up there.
That album's great.
It's so good. So
Such
good.
a gem.
Believe it or not, yes, that was a big relationship album.
I'm
for
sure
us.
everybody
Yeah.
is shocked.
Yeah, it's.
I really associate that album with you.
Yeah, me too. We were both spinning that one a lot when we when we first started dating.
When it was a budding romance.
Yeah, when it was a budding romance. Yes, the romantic sounds of Hunting Girl, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a song about a dominatrix. Anyway.
The romantic sounds of Solstice Bells. Anyway.
Ring out those bells. With the Whistler, Velvet Green, like, come on.
It's so good. It's
It makes
classic.
sense. Like, Velvet Green, I think, is a song about sowing your wild oats. So
Well,
there
and
you go.
also, Hunting Girl is a sexual song, lyrically.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What was your go-to album?
Oh, God. I chose Sam's Town by The Killers.
Cool.
The Killers are something that I got into when I was in high school because I was the right age. I wasn't into a lot of music of the day, but my friends were listening to The Killers, and I'm like, I love this. And I know there are pop snobs, Rob, who...
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, there's a lot of people I think that kind of dismiss a lot of pop, and I'm not a big pop person, but The Killers are so good, and I'll defend them to the bitter end. And Sam's Town is, like, truly a gem of an album, and it's also right up there in my favorite albums of all time.
Very nice.
So,
You've never played it for me.
I think I have.
It's because I'm a pop snob.
I actually think I have.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have to listen to it again.
You probably dismissed it outright. I'll play it for you sometime, but don't be too mean
Don't
to me.
crush your spirit.
Yeah, it'll crush me.
You just had an impassioned speech about it, and now I'm like,
Because
yeah,
I love
this
it,
sucks.
and it means a lot to me.
Hey, that's what this is about, is listening to stuff that you want to listen to, right?
Yep.
So, number 10 is an album with a color in the title, and I have a very, very weird, very offbeat, very, out-of-the-box one. I randomly own this on vinyl. I have no idea where it came from. I don't know. My thing was I could not figure out what album to listen to. Because there's so many albums with
Why not,
colors in the title.
Okay, go on.
Well, that's why I couldn't figure out. So I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go finger through my vinyl. Whatever one I pick out first, or whatever one strikes me or whatever, I'm going to pick it. So I have this album called Red Queen to Griffin 3 by Griffin. And it's an instrumental progressive rock album. Kind of jazzy
How
fusion.
did you end up with that?
I have absolutely no idea where it came from. I'm not even joking.
Maybe it was your dad's,
No,
perhaps?
it could have been in there's been several times I've gotten just crates of records from people that it could have just been in there. But this album blew me away. I thought it was awesome. First time ever hearing it on vinyl, I loved it.
I should
thought
hear
it
it
was if you want a cool instrumental progressive rock album, that was a really, really awesome album.
I should hear that. I'm
So
interested.
yeah, I'll play it for you sometime.
Cool.
And you can play me The Killers.
I will.
What did you pick for your color in the title?
So I was going to choose the White Album, even though white is technically not a color.
Or the Black Album by Metallica.
I was not going to ever consider choosing that. But instead I chose Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy by Elton John.
Classic.
I love Elton John.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, but I love Elton John more than the average person.
In fact, these aviators right now, these are a tribute to Elton John.
Like, you say you love Elton John, but I deeply love Elton John.
Yeah.
And Madman Across the Water is my favorite album by him, but this one comes in a close second. So
you could have also listened to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
I could have, but I like this album more, actually. Yeah. So I recommend it. It's great. Classic 70s Elton John.
I would argue
it's a good album.
It's probably a better album too, actually.
It is, because without getting too elaborate, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road has a lot of hits and a lot of meh songs, but Captain Fantastic is solid all the way through.
I would agree with that. That it's and also so is Madman Across the Water.
Madman Across the Water is one of the greatest albums of all time.
You heard it here, folks. It is
Yeah.
really, really good. Which, by the way, you have 2 copies of that on vinyl.
Sweet.
Number 11, an album you know all the lyrics to. I have to be quite honest with you, this one was really hard for me. Even albums that I know really well, I don't know all the lyrics to. And as I mentioned, in a way, I don't like saying that I'm not a big lyrics guy, because there are lots of lyrics from lots of songs that I really love.
That's not your main thing.
But it's never the first thing that pops out to me, unless it's like a certain kind of song. You know, something like Subterranean Homesick Blues by Bob Dylan. You know, the lyrics pop out, you know. Stuff like that, you know. But I'm not really a big lyrics guy. And oddly enough, I chose Boston's self-titled debut album because I have heard that song front to back between radio and just being obsessed with that album, especially when I was getting into music. I've heard that album so much that I don't know maybe all... There's no album I'm convinced that I know 100% of the lyrics to. Even
I'm sure you do.
Even Dark Side of the Moon, I don't know all the lyrics. But Boston's debut, I listened to it on vinyl, and I listened to every song. I got most of the vast majority. I think I missed like a couple lines, and that was it. But I've heard those songs so many times, and I love that album, and it was great. It was a treat listening to it again. I love that album.
I enjoyed it. I listened to it with him.
Yeah.
It was only the second time I've ever heard that album, but it was good.
It's great.
I liked it.
I guess they don't play the shit out of Boston in Canada. Huh?
I also don't listen to the radio.
Oh,
So
true. Yeah,
there
true.
you go.
There you go. But yeah, Boston's debut album.
So I strongly considered choosing "Blood on the Tracks" by Bob Dylan
That would have been a good choice.
because I really think I could recite all the lyrics to that album, even Lily Rosemary and the Jack of Hearts, which is like really lyric heavy. But I chose "After the Gold Rush" by Neil Young because
Great pick.
I know confidently that I could sing that whole album to you. Neil Young's lyrics are really easy to take in, you know what I mean? He's one of those singers that is clear. And also, I love that album.
Oh, it's classic.
I don't know if I have anything else to say about
Probably
it.
my favorite
It's just
Neil
like
Young.
a gem.
And keep an eye out.
And I love Neil Young.
If I ever think of it and we ever finish it, check out our cover of After the Gold Rush.
We need to finish that.
Rachel will be playing piano on it. I will be doing my very bad Neil Young imitation.
It's actually pretty good.
And whenever I'm happy with my recording of my vocals, I'll post it below in the comments. But
We gotta do that.
yeah, I have to finish that.
Yep.
So, Day 12 is an album that makes you want to dance. You're talking about pop snobs here? Well, I chose Michael Jackson's Thriller, the
Okay.
ultimate dance album.
True, but I will say everyone likes Michael Jackson,
That's
so it
fair.
doesn't mean anything.
Well, maybe not anymore, but you know. I chose, I don't care if he's canceled or not. I still love Michael Jackson's music. I know that the man is very divisive. Like, I understand
the
that.
The human being is different than
Yeah,
the music.
but Thriller is probably the best pop album of all time.
It was great.
And it's
Actually.
like just solid, song after song is just amazing. We were driving around in the car listening to it together. I was just jamming, you know, listening to
was
Beat
good.
It and, you know, The Girl Is Mine and all that great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and got ice cream, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great day.
And
That
I
was
will
fun.
say, I had never heard Thriller before. I mean, I'd heard the song, but I had never heard the album front to back. And it was amazing. I see why everyone loves it.
It's a classic for a reason.
And at a certain point, I was like, "What a lineup!" It was like
Yeah.
hit after hit after hit, you know. So,
Yep. There you go,
it's a good
Thriller.
one.
This is Thriller Nights. And then, of course, Vincent Price's epic Anyway, go ahead. What was your
Anywho.
danceable album?
So I don't really like a lot of dancey music, to be honest with you.
There.
I like my somber, folky, dreary kind of stuff. So I chose "Breakfast in America."
Yes, by Supertramp. Yeah.
Because it makes me want to dance anyway. And I recall one time you and I just dancing around our living room to I forget which song.
It was
that
probably
one.
the
The logical song. I don't know.
Oh no, it's probably
Take a
like
long
Sweet
way home.
Devotion.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Goodbye, Mary. Goodbye,
It
Jane.
probably was that, yeah.
That song, yeah.
That album is just a good time.
Oh, yeah,
It makes me happy. It makes me want to dance.
So listen here, people. I've done a lot of like progressive rock stuff on here. You guys know that I love prog rock. Supertramp, their early progressive rock albums are really great, like Crime of the Century, that kind of stuff. From what I've heard, I've really liked.
Pretty good, yeah.
But Breakfast in America, the pop album, is their best album. I don't even care. I love it. I love it.
It is a great album.
Amazing album.
Yep.
Amazing album. So number 13. This was one where we actually were going to originally go with something different, and we both decided screw that, because the topic was an album that you used to love but now you hate. I couldn't think of anything.
I couldn't either, because I feel like I tend to stick with things.
Yeah, I stick with things too. There's a couple things, like I used to like the band Def Leppard, and I can't really stand them anymore. But even so, I never really got into anything other than their greatest hits, so that, to me, that doesn't really count. And yeah, we just couldn't think of anything. So we changed it, and we decided to do an album swap. So I recommended Rachel an album, she recommended me an album. So your recommendation to me was Arcade Fire, The Suburbs. Now, I love this album. I thought it was great.
I'm surprised
I really
liked
liked
it so
it.
much.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was again, we were just kind of driving again, because we drive constantly, it seems, and we were listening to this, and it was I really enjoyed it. It was a really good album.
I'm glad you liked it. I thought I could go either way, but I think it's a great album. I think it's a lyrical masterpiece. I'll go so far as to say.
Again, I didn't pay much attention to the lyrics.
You should.
But the music was great, you know, and I should, yeah.
The music's good, but the lyrics are the strong suit of that album.
Yeah, I thought it was solid. I liked it a lot. So
I'm glad.
Yeah.
And Rob recommended to me The 5,000 Spirits, or The Layers of the Onion by the Incredible String Band.
This was an
album.
album.
You can tell me more about this band. I know not.
This was an album, so it's a folk album from the 60s. These guys were actually at Woodstock, so that's why I recommended it to Rachel, because she loves her 60s folk music, and folk music in general. And
it was hit or miss.
It's pretty acid-laced,
yeah,
kind of folk, and this was recommended to me.
It wasn't folky necessarily, it was like psychedelic.
Yeah, it was weird, and the guy kind of sang in like a Irishy, Scottish, I think they're Scottish. His accent was quite thick.
It was interesting.
Kind of had Celtic vibes at times. There's psychedelia in there. A huge shout out to my good friend Sebastian, if you ever see this. He's the one who originally told me about that album, and I really like that album. It was nice for me to listen to, too, because I hadn't heard it in years. So.
It was interesting. I didn't hate it. With some of the songs, I'm like, this is pretty good. With some of the songs, I was like, it's so of the time in a not good way.
It's a grower, in my opinion, but...
Fair enough.
Yep. So number 14 is an album that makes a statement. And for me, the glaring obvious one for me was Animals by Pink Floyd, which is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Great choice.
I love how just, like, pissed off Roger Waters is all the time.
Rage.
Yeah, like...
He's an amazing lyricist
and
as well.
he is, again, as not a huge lyrics guy, and I love Pink Floyd, that album has a darkness and a clear message. You know, he separates people into sort of three groups: dogs, pigs, and sheep. The dogs being sort of like the enforcers, the pigs being kind of like the authoritarians, and the sheep being the sheep. And even like the stuff in the Pigs on the Wing, they're not interludes, but you know, the prelude and the ending there. The lyrics are really interesting.
It's obviously just a obvious political commentary. So
it's great.
And it's an amazing album.
And it's also based off of the book Animal Farm, which I love. So
which also is a political commentary.
Yep, it's really awesome album. I always love. Again, another one I listened to on vinyl. It was great.
One of the best albums of all time.
A lot of these I listen to on vinyl. I've been really busting out the record player. It's been awesome.
I'm glad we have. Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you pick?
I chose The Freewheelin' by Bob Dylan.
Nice.
And I'll just say I chose it because this was from Bob Dylan's more folky political era, but I also just chose it to represent Bob Dylan because I feel like he's the king of
making statements. Yeah.
Great lyrics, making a statement. So
that is my Bob.
That's my Bob.
That's my Bob.
Oh,
this is
you
my
mean that
Bob.
era? It's like that is my
This is
Bob.
this is my Bob. I call her Bob. No, yeah, that's my Bob Dylan. Is that era of Bob Dylan?
The folky,
Yeah,
like blowing in the wind.
The folky, yeah. Times they are changing.
blink
That's like
twice, it's all
to me.
right,
That's like
yeah.
the ultimate protest song. Love it.
I love Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
If I just may say, my Bob Dylan is the like
70s.
Blood on the Tracks,
Desire.
you know, that kind of Bob Dylan. But he's great, and I feel like he's the master lyricist, so I had to pick it for this topic.
He is great,
So,
but much as you said about Rush, that's a little how I feel about Bob Dylan now these
limited
days.
doses. Yeah.
I'm like I'm good for a while after I listen to like maybe an album or so, and then I'm good. But he's still a genius.
He is. And there was a lot of important topics touched on in the Freewheelin'. I was really listening to the lyrics when I listened to it. So
Yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah.
We're halfway there. So, Day 15 was an album that you would play at 3 a.m. This is an album that I often played at 3 a.m. because I used to work night shift. And it's the perfect 3 album. It's Red by King Crimson. Again, this album has probably popped up more than any other album on this channel. Dark, sinister sounding, like very just... It's got a vibe, man. And that kind of music, really heavy and stuff, that kind of music you want to be listening to at like 3 in the morning.
I know I've heard that album, but
You seem to like it, except you seemed about fed up when Starless came on.
I seem to recall that I listened to that when we were in a tent camping.
Yeah.
Randomly.
Yep, we did. I played you some King Crimson. You seems like they're a bit hit or miss for you, but that's fair.
They are.
You love Discipline though.
I love Discipline.
That album. You seem like you really.
I
like.
do.
I should play you Beat and 3 of a Perfect Pair, but anyway, that's getting off topic.
Yep. Okay, so I chose Kid A by Radiohead.
And Andy's gonna love that.
Yep. This was an easy choice for me for some reason. I don't know why. Just sometimes you can explain why you chose something. Sometimes you're like, it's obviously that, and that's just a 3 a.m. album. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just very like desolate and
it's weird.
Creepy.
Yeah.
And isolating. I don't know. It just has the right vibe.
I've got to be honest.
So.
It's the only Radiohead album that I've been able to kind of get on with.
It's a great album.
I liked OK Computer. It was pretty good. I don't think it still didn't really click with me. And I've heard the Bends too, I think.
The Bends is great. That's my favorite.
Which
personally.
I've listened to a little bit. I can't get on with them, but Kid A for some reason. I had a coworker who played that album for me. Radiohead was his favorite band. He was from Chile. And he said they came to Chile and he saw him and he was crying and all this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and he played Kid A for me at work the one day and I'm like, this is really good. Like I was surprised how much I liked it, but it's for some reason it's the only Radiohead album that I can get into. I don't know why.
Well, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I feel like Radiohead is just a different band every album.
Yeah,
maybe some other people wouldn't think that, but they're just so... I haven't heard all their albums, but based on the ones I have heard, they're just so different from album to album.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That's another band you probably could talk to Andy about quite a bit.
Well, he's probably a bigger fan than me, I'm guessing.
Maybe, who knows?
So,
who knows?
Anyway,
so, number 16 is an album that makes you happy. And I chose Phantom Power by the Tragically Hip.
Nice.
And I'm pretty sure I was driving around listening to the album. It was a sunny day.
It's a great album.
The Hip is another band that...
Canadian Jewel.
Yeah, some of Canada's best there. Another band that you and I bonded over. It's a sunny day. I'm listening to the Hip. We're driving through Canada. We're driving to Canada. Whatever. Doesn't even have to be going to Canada. It could just be wherever.
Oh yes, it does.
Okay, that adds to it. I won't lie. But you put it on. That's just another album that I really love.
That is a gem.
Fireworks, Thompson
Bob
Girl,
Cajun.
Bob Cajun, Escape is at Hand for the Traveling
Man, yeah.
all of them. Yeah, it's really fun. Just fun alternative rock. Just blast it.
I love the Tragedy. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Gord, you beautiful man.
We love you.
You like my dinos? Anyway,
I do.
I know. Who doesn't?
Anyway, I chose Graceland by Paul Simon.
Nice pick.
It's just a good time. The whole thing's upbeat and fun, and I feel like it probably wouldn't age well. Like, I feel like probably people would consider it like appropriating some things. I don't know. Anyway, forget that.
It would be hard with that because that's a different video.
I'm sorry, I even brought that.
That's a different video.
But regardless, it's a feel-good album. It makes me feel good. You
That
can
is
call me Al, you know.
That yeah.
Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. It's just a good time, you know.
that is a really good album. I think you also got that on vinyl. We should listen to
Probably.
that one again soon too.
My dad also, by the way, as a side note, would always try to sing Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes to me, but like totally butcher the lyrics like any good dad would, you know? So.
Oh, you
Anyway.
dad. What a gem. Okay, number 17, kind of the opposite of one that makes you happy. Number 17 is an album that you don't understand. For me, there was only one band that came to mind, or rather, not only one, it was the first band that came to mind. The Smiths. I've heard a lot of people have recommended the Smiths to me. A lot of people love the Smiths.
Those diehard
I've
fans.
tried, so I decided this time I'm gonna really sit down and listen to this fucking band and try, you know? So I asked you, because you're a huge fan of the Smiths, which album, and you said the self-titled debut. And I gotta be honest, the first couple songs, I'm like, alright, I'm over this, I want to listen to Maiden or something. And then I was getting into it. I don't know why specifically Iron Maiden, but anyway. I started getting into it, and then by the end of the album, it sort of won me over.
Wow.
I have to say I like the Smiths a lot. Like the band sounds great. It's if Morrissey would just shut the beep up.
You kind of hurt my heart.
I
That
don't
one.
like his vocals at all. That's the only problem I have with that band is I just don't like his vocals.
I get it.
So
but
sorry
also,
to you Smiths fans, but that's the big barrier. But I love what they're doing instrumentally. It's like musically, it's very interesting. But it's not even like I know some people have issues with his lyrical content and stuff. It's not the lyrics even. It's just the blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh god, you know.
I get it, but also it
Ugh.
makes me sad.
Fair.
Because that album is like, I hate to keep using the word masterpiece, but it is a masterpiece, and in particular, the lyrics are like fabulous. But anyway,
Fair. But I have to say, I gained a little bit of respect for the band at least because it wasn't like I didn't have a terrible time listening to it. You know, I liked it.
Oh,
It
that's
kind of
good.
was starting to win me over a little bit. So maybe it's one I need more time with. I don't know, but it's just I got to get past those vocals, I guess.
it might just not be for you, to be
Yeah.
honest. This is the only compilation I chose, and it was a best of the Joy Division album.
Oh, so we kind of picked from the same period.
Yeah, I was gonna choose
Foxtrot, right?
early Genesis. Yeah, Peter Gabriel Genesis.
I wish you picked Foxtrot. I love that album.
Well, I was going to, but I was driving up to Canada, and I happened to have the Best of Joy Division on my iPod, so
Oh.
that's why I chose it. And I still don't get it.
But isn't it the same? Don't you have kind of a similar issue that I do? You don't like Ian Curtis's voice, right?
I don't like his voice. I didn't really like the music,
Yeah.
so I just didn't like it.
Joy Division.
People love Joy Division, but like,
Joy Division was a band that was kind of pounded into my ears constantly because I had a friend. No disrespect to him if he ever sees this, but he just played them all the time, and it was sort of like Stockholm Syndrome, where it's kind of like after a while I was just like, hey, this is pretty good. But I can't listen. I agree. I can't get super into them. I do love the song Transmission. I like a couple of their other songs, but they're not an albums band for me, and I think had I not had so much exposure to them, I don't know if I would be like them even as much as I do, you know.
they're just too jarring sounding, and I know it's intentional, but
I kind of like that though.
it's not for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, whatever.
Anyway, yeah, it's interesting we both picked bands from around the same period, that post-punk sort of sound. Okay, number 18 is an album that motivates you, and speaking of Iron Maiden, I picked Power Slave. Why? Metal motivates me.
Is that the like Sphinx cover?
Yep. Amazing album cover. You can see it behind us. That album is probably, it's between that and maybe Somewhere in Time as far as my favorite albums.
Why does it motivate you?
metal just motivates me. Metal just gets me going. Like
The
it gets
energy?
me. It just the energy just pumps me up. So this could have been, just about any other metal band that I liked, but Iron Maiden, I guess I was just in the mood for it that day, and I was like, yeah, Power Slave, Aces high! It was awesome.
Wow.
There you go, yeah.
I'm motivated.
Anyway, go ahead.
I chose the album. It's called Under Rugs Swept by Alanis Morissette.
That's random, but go ahead.
I love Alanis Morissette. I feel like a lot of people probably poo-poo her as an artist as well, but going back to the whole poo-pooing pop thing. I'm sorry, I keep saying poo-pooing, by the way. But that album's great, and I feel like she's very motivating for me personally because her lyrics are very introspective and about like personal growth and like relationships and like learning from experiences and stuff, and I really like it.
Nice.
So
Um,
it motivates me to want to be more introspective myself.
was there any particular songs that motivates you?
It's a good album.
Cool. Nice.
Listen to it.
Listen
everybody.
to it. Number 19 was an instrumental album. There are tons of albums that I could pick. I love instrumental music. I chose one of my favorite bands, Ozric Tentacles, and I chose probably my favorite album by them, Waterfall Cities, which you can see this gorgeous cover behind me. It's beautiful. Just really cool, like kind of space rock. A lot of like awesome guitar and just really cool like atmospheric music. A lot of keyboard textures. Really, really cool stuff. I love it. Really weird too. The song Zingu, I think it's called. Excellent. Could be in a video game. It's a cool soundtrack.
Interesting.
And by soundtrack, I'm thinking about the next thing, but yeah, it's a really, really cool album. Yeah, check out Waterfall Cities or anything by the Ozrics. They're awesome. What'd you pick?
I chose Appalachian Waltz by Yo-Yo Ma, Mark O'Connor, and Edgar Meyer.
Nice pick.
It's first of all, I love Yo-Yo Ma. I love the cello. He's a fantastic
She plays the cello.
Yeah, not like Yo-Yo Ma though. Man, that dude is fantastic. And the album's great. It's kind of like Appalachian-y kind of. There's some folky kind of things, and some of the songs are just so beautiful. Like there's songs on that album that have literally made me cry.
Yeah.
Because they're so good.
The cello, man. Oof.
Yeah.
What a beautiful instrument.
I thoroughly recommend it.
You should play that for me sometime.
You never heard it?
I've
heard some of the tunes on it.
I know I've heard you've played
some of them
quite a bit, I think, of Yo-Yo Ma for me. So, but I couldn't tell you what. Like I couldn't identify the actual album.
Well, some of them were on that.
But I do really like what I've heard of Yo-Yo Ma. So this topic we came up with ourselves because we love video games. I have a gaming channel. It's called Kuroda Kaisuki. Check it out. And so
video game music is amazing. So.
Yeah, video game music is amazing. So of course, number 20 is a video game soundtrack.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. You good.
To spoil that.
And yeah, so we just decided to add this one. I chose probably my favorite video game soundtrack of all time, and that is Super Metroid.
Which is glorious.
Dark, got that creepy sci-fi feel.
Oh yeah, so good.
Like
so
just
good.
like the upper and lower Brinstar, the
eerie,
Red Soil one
ominous,
that you did the piano cover of, the theme of Samus, all of it. Amazing stuff. Amazing game. Amazing soundtrack. Really atmospheric, creepy shit. Like
it's excellent.
I realize this is probably crossing over, there's probably people who watch this who aren't gaming fans. Even if you aren't, she'll attest, even if you aren't a gaming fan, you'd probably love this soundtrack. And
I am a gaming fan, but I heard this soundtrack far before I ever saw the game.
Yeah.
And I loved it, just as music.
Amazing.
So
Super Metroid for Super Nintendo, that soundtrack, check it out.
And I chose my favorite video game
Samus's Bay. Sorry, go ahead.
I chose my favorite video game soundtrack, which is the Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack.
I'm doing this a lot. Who's the Italian one here?
You're an honorary Italian.
That's true. I'm an honorary Italian and Canadian. So you picked the Donkey Kong Country 2 soundtrack. Amazing. David Wise. What a genius.
I feel like I don't really have much to say about it, except it's... I was going to say a masterpiece. It's awesome. That's
It is
all.
a masterpiece.
The game's also great, but the music is great as a standalone thing.
In a Snowbound Land. Sticker Brush Symphony.
Say no more.
Minecar Melancholy. Lockjaw's Locker.
All of it.
All of it.
Do-do-do-do. Okay, nobody cares about this. So moving on.
Anyway, that's actually music I could probably play on this.
Alright, moving on.
Play more video games. Okay, boy, we're getting down to the top 10 here, or the last 10 anyway. Number 21 is a driving album, an album that you like to listen to while driving. So we listened to a lot of this shit on while we were driving, which is kind of funny. What's that look?
I don't know what you're gonna say. That's that look.
See, this is what I have to put up with people. I can't wait to add. I'm gonna definitely keep some of the gaffs in here. It's gonna be great.
Gaffs.
Gaffs.
See what I have to put up with?
Yeah. She married Joe Biden. Wake up.
This tedium.
Sorry.
Ew. What are you talking
You've
about?
never seen that meme?
No.
Joe Biden, wake up.
I've never heard that meme.
It's really good.
Anyway.
Alright, so an album you like to listen to while you're driving. I picked, again, I like hard rock, heavy metal a lot. I picked something super kind of aggressive and sort of like, something you could really go to. I was kind of driving like an idiot this day. Oopsie, probably shouldn't have said
So you like
that.
to speed?
Motorhead, Ace of Spades. Motorhead, Ace of Spades.
They're kind of ass, but it's alright.
I didn't pick on you when you said Alanis
What's wrong with
Morissette.
You've never even heard that album.
How much
Scoundrel.
Motorhead have you heard?
I've heard enough.
Lemmy is a legend, and he's passed away.
Tell your Lemmy story.
Oh,
While we're at it.
I don't have a Lemmy story, but I did go to the Rainbow.
Yeah, you have a Lemmy statue.
And
story.
I have a picture of myself next to the Lemmy statue. If I think of it, I'll put it here. So there you go. That's me with the Lemmy statue. Very sad. Rest in peace, Lemmy. And Filthy Phil. And freaking Fast Eddie Clark. That whole lineup who did that album's dead. So very sad. But like amazing. Again, top to bottom. One of the best albums. Love Me Like a Reptile. Jailbait.
I'm convinced.
Come on. You're a jailbait. And I just can't wait. Like, come on.
It's one
Classic.
of those things where the singing is too bad for me.
That's fair. That's
Anyway.
fair. I love Lemmy's voice,
His
but
voice
yeah.
is quite crunchy.
So yeah, Motorhead. What'd you pick?
I picked Music at Work by the Tragically Hip.
My music at work. My music.
That album is great.
Yeah.
Like, Phantom Power is their best album. Music at Work is a close second, in my opinion.
You could have really picked any hip album.
Yeah,
to
but I
listen
thought
to
you were
while
going to
driving.
pick Phantom Power, so I picked Music at Work.
I picked Phantom Power, but for something different.
Well, I knew you were going to pick it, so... Music at Work's a great album. And the Tragically Hip are just good to drive to,
They are
so
really, yeah.
That's all I have to say
That
about
is a good album too, and you could have picked like Fully Completely. That's a great
I
album
know,
too.
but I felt like listening to Music at Work.
Music at Work.
That's my second favorite.
I like that album a lot
So.
too. Nice pick.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite categories. Number 22. An album that you hated but now you love. Excuse me. I picked Octopus by Gentle Giant. There were two albums that popped in my head when this category came up. One of which was Trout Mask Replica by Captain Beefheart, which was not on is not on Spotify. So I didn't listen to it. So I went with Octopus. Really weird album. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't stand this album, but as I mentioned again in that prog video, to shamelessly plug, when I listened to the Steven Wilson remix of this album, that was what convinced me. Weird, kind of eclectic... Daisy? Okay.
Daisy's... The other cat must be at the window.
Oh, that's probably it. Weird, eclectic arrangements. Lots of different instrumental stuff in there. The way... Daisy, stop.
She's defluffed.
She is defluffed. Lots of... Oh, man. So, doo-doo!
The flu.
I know. So, I'll wait till you look over here. So, lots of different weird instrumentation in it. Lots of different instruments in it. Which I think is really impressive because the band themselves play all... They're all virtuosos, so they play all those different instruments. You hear stuff like cello and violin and saxophone and flute and all kinds of stuff in it. And it's just really, really weird, but very interesting music. Love Octopus. I think it was in my top 10 prog rock albums, so...
So it made a real turnaround.
Love it.
For you
Gentle
then.
Giant. Amazing. And I recently listened to Freehand, which was also just remixed. It came out just like a couple days ago, or like a week ago, and which was also remixed by Steven Wilson. Really great. Three Friends. Just listen to Gentle Giant. They're amazing. What'd you pick?
I could have picked many things for this category because I don't know about anyone else, but I feel like I dislike a lot of music and then eventually love it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have that experience.
That's happened with some stuff.
Like
yeah.
I really hated like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I didn't like Pink Floyd the first time I heard them, but I ended up choosing Toxicity by System of a Down.
Yes.
Because I hated System of a Down when I first heard it.
I did too.
But I had a couple of friends in high school that loved it, and we would be like driving around and they'd be playing it, and eventually I loved it. So.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
What song? Like, what song changed your mind about System?
There were a few that I liked earlier on. Like, my friend Andy really liked that song.
Yeah.
And I like that one, and Lonely Day, but those aren't my favorites now. My favorites probably like Toxicity, the title track, and Hypnotize, the title track. So
The song that changed my mind, there was two, and they were both off of Toxicity. Chop Suey
classic.
and the Prison song.
Well, not classic, but great.
Great, yeah. So yeah, that's another one I actually probably could have done.
They're great.
I remember hating System of a Down back in the day.
They're
Now
an
I love
acquired
them.
taste. They're
Yeah.
quite abrasive.
Oh yeah,
I could say.
That's a very polite way of saying it.
Yep.
All right, we're getting down to the wire here. So number 23 is an album that describes how you feel that day. I was in a bit of a melancholy mood that day. I don't remember exactly why. I just wasn't happy.
You were working.
Oh, it was a work day. That explains it. So I listened to Pink Moon by Nick Drake, which is one of my favorite... Well, I'd say I like Five Leaves Left better, I think, but that's probably my favorite Drake album. And by Drake, I mean Nick Drake. I just realized, yeah, not Drake. No, not that Drake.
You like Drake? Wow. How
No,
out of
Nick
character.
Drake album. But Pink Moon I hadn't heard in a long time, and there is a feeling with that album. It's very stripped down. It was recorded like a night or two before he died, I think. It was close. It was very, very close to
So
when
wait,
he died.
it came out posthumously,
Yes.
as they say.
Yes, posthumously.
Posthumously? I never know how to say that word.
Posthumously.
Okay.
No, it did, and it's just got a melancholy kind of feel. You listen to it on a rainy day. In fact, I think it might have been raining that day as well, so it was appropriate. And yeah, just it's a short album, and just really described my feelings for the day. I was just feeling a little down, so I listened to a little Nick Drake. Yep, that was it.
He's pretty great. Oh. To describe the day, I had driven up to Canada. You have to quarantine when you enter Canada because the border is closed. So you can cross, but you have to quarantine. Anyway, so I was in quarantine. Life was a little bit easier, no responsibilities. I was just kind of chilling every day, doing not much, sitting on the front porch in the sun, relaxing. So I...
Not brooding at home, listening to Nick Drake.
Not brooding at home, not at work. So I picked an album that fit that. So I picked an album called The Hermit by John Renburn.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 70s album, classical guitar.
Ooh.
I hadn't heard it in years, and I was just trying to be inspired in the moment, and I'm like, The Hermit, it just kind of came to me. It just sort of fit the whole being on a porch, letting time pass slowly, being in the moment. And it's really good.
You should play that for me sometime. I
think
love
you'd like
classical
it.
guitar.
I think you'd like it. It's
I love
really
it.
good. So,
Awesome.
I recommend it. It's kind of like a feel-good, light, peaceful kind of album.
Very nice pick.
Yeah.
Cool. Number 24 is, the title was A Relationship Album. So an album that describes our relationship. And what do we pick?
The Distance
by Bob Seger.
Yep.
We both listened to it that day. You happen to have been gone for probably at least a week by that point, right? Something like that. She was gone for quite a while. Because as she was just saying, she quarantined for 2 weeks, so she was
in Canada,
I was here in the U.S. By myself, and she had the baby with her, so it was nice to listen to The Distance, wasn't it?
It's a great album.
Yeah.
First of all, Bob Seger is the man himself.
Oh yeah,
we love Bob Seger, and The Distance is a great album, and it really is.
Indicative of our relationship.
Yeah, it's just something we listened to a ton when we were first dating.
Song like Even Now, the lyrics. Even now, she's all that I want, she's all that I need, This one right here.
You cheeseball.
Yeah, Or, oh god, oh, blame it on midnight. That's a great song.
It's just a great album.
So, and for context, because we didn't really give context, Bob Seger was like our entire, it describes our entire courting if we're dating time.
I wouldn't say describe. We just listen to it.
Yeah,
a lot.
we listen. Well, I'd say describes a little bit because some of he writes a lot of cheesy bittersweet love stuff,
Yeah.
And so we listen to a ton of Bob Seger together, and just we danced to "We've Got Tonight" when we had our Canadian wedding. Just lots of really, really great memories listening to him, and I think The Distance is an album that we both really, really love. Probably my favorite.
Because we got into it together.
Yeah.
Whereas I had been a Bob Seger fan previously, but I hadn't heard that album.
Yep, and you got it for me on vinyl, which I listened to. So I listened to the copy that you bought me. So of course, yeah, it was great, and I love you. There you go. There you go.
All right. Moving on.
Okay. So number 25 was an album that reminds you of someone, and I chose Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison because I love Johnny Cash, and he always reminds me of my grandfather who passed away a couple years ago. And yeah, I don't know. I just I don't know. It's funny. When Walk the Line came out, I actually took my grandparents to go see that movie, and we went and saw it together. And the first time I ever heard him was listening to him with my grandparents because they had a CD of him. And yeah, to this day, I'm a huge Cash fan, and especially after my pop passed away, it's just every time I put Johnny Cash on, I get I think of him.
It's like one of those things that brings you right back, right?
Just brings me right back to hanging out with him and talking to him and stuff. So yeah, and at Folsom Prison, one of the best live albums. Just some of the stuff that he says, where he's like, "Can I get some water?" And he's just like, I don't know what that run off of, but this isn't water or something, And then he says something like, "Well, just so you know, we're recording live, so you can't say hell or shit or anything like that." And it's nonsense. It's so good. But yeah, at Folsom Prison, I think he does Orange Blossom Special. He does June Carter comes in. They do Jackson. They do that song 25 Minutes to Go, Cocaine Blues. Classic Cash. Love it. What'd you pick?
Cool. I picked the album. It's called Float by Flogging Molly. And I picked it because it reminded me of my brother, Kalen, who introduced it to me and was really into them for a time. And it's kind of the same thing. It brings me right back,
Yeah.
Whenever I listen to it, it's 2012. I'm right there again,
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That's it. It's great. They're kind of they're considered kind of punk-ish, but I don't really hear that much. I'm not a punk fan. And kind of they have a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a, not Celtic-y, kind of an Irish-y kind of
that Irish kind of sound.
So, and that's not normally my thing, but they're actually really great.
Cool.
So, I recommend the album Float.
Nice.
It's a good time.
Nice. And it reminds you of him?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because I don't think I ever would have heard it if it wasn't for him being into it, so.
I find it random that your brother was into them, but
he likes some random stuff. I don't know how he got into them, but
Cool.
Anyway, that wasn't his taste either necessarily, but
Sometimes you like stuff that's completely,
yeah,
you know, out of your sort of box.
yeah, and I still listen to them like every now and then, and I'm like brought right back there. You know what I mean? So
Very nice.
yeah.
Number 26 is an album that you would work out to, which I didn't work out to while I was
Well, we didn't have to do
while
that.
I was listening to it. I chose, again, I like my high octane rock for that. It gives me energy. So I picked Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Ronnie James Dio, my favorite singer. He's got that operatic voice mixed with that like
Whoa.
dun 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 that driving like the dun 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 dun. You know, it just makes me want to get up and go. And so like I can't tell you how many times I've been at the gym and been on the treadmill and listening to like Heaven and Hell or Neon Nights or something like that. So I just put on the album again on vinyl.
Nice.
And it was great. Yeah, Black Sabbath.
Good old Dio, you know? We love Dio.
Rest in peace, Ronnie. Biography's coming out at the end of the month.
There you go. Rob's randomly plugging...
Autobiography,
his
yeah. My autobiography.
What is going on?
Go ahead, what'd you pick?
I don't really listen to music when I work out. Nor do I, like I said earlier, nor do I like a lot of really upbeat music, so I struggled with this topic. And then I randomly just ended up picking the album called Franz Ferdinand by the band Franz Ferdinand. Also something that was just a thing when I was in high school. I'm not a fan of the band, but I like the album. And they're kind of upbeat, so I was like, I guess this would make me want to move. But it was a hard topic for me.
Fair enough, yeah.
But it's a good album. I recommend it.
Nice. Cool.
That's all.
So you would like, you know, if you were running a marathon or something, you'd put it on?
I would not really listen to music while running a marathon.
Okay, fair.
I also considered ABBA, but I didn't feel like listening to ABBA that day, so.
This is becoming a very silly video.
Was that supposed to be an ABBA song?
Yeah.
What was that?
You can dance.
Oh,
you
yeah, okay,
can dance, having the time. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So number 27 is an album with great lyrics.
I was most excited for this topic.
This, like you said, with the workout one was the hardest one for me. Because, well, I've said it a million times, I'm not a lyrics guy. But you pointed this out, and I went with a band that you mentioned earlier, System of a Down, because I love their lyrics. They're great.
They have great lyrics.
And I knew you would listen to Toxicity, so I decided to listen to something different. I listened to Mesmerize.
Great.
I know it's their biggest hit, but I love the song BYOB because it's about the Iraq War, and I just love their take on it. It's wonderful.
It's a great song.
But then, I mean, how could you not like My Cock is Much Bigger Than Yours?
Those are great lyrics, right?
And oh god, what's the other one? Everybody live it now. Everybody sucks. You know.
And the hit
Oh, Radio Video,
yeah.
Lost in Hollywood. That's a really, really good song. It's just kind of about how when you go to Hollywood, they just chew you up and spit you out. Really, you know. I love the lyrics of that. So yeah, cool album.
Great album.
Yeah, great band. What'd you pick?
I picked Blue by Joni Mitchell.
That was a great pick.
Joni Mitchell is like such a poet, you know. She's great. That album is great. Don't you love all my adjectives here?
Oh, it's great. She's Canadian.
It's
That's great. You know.
I don't really care that she's Canadian, but she's just an amazing lyricist. I feel like she writes the best. Once again, I really like things that are introspective and about people's relationships and experiences and personal growth and like the bittersweetness of life. And I feel like she just captures that really well.
Yeah, that's a great album.
And that album is gold from beginning to end.
Yeah.
There's a song in particular, the song Little Green. She's writing about like singing to a child, and in her personal life she had an early pregnancy and gave a child up for adoption, and the song is so obviously about that, and the lyrics are just so beautiful. So it's a great album.
Yeah, that is a really, really great album.
Yeah.
Nice pick.
Good old Joni Mitchell.
Almost at the end here. Album by your favorite artist. So this is, for me, the only artist that comes up twice in this whole 30 days. At least on record here. But I chose obviously my favorite band is Pink Floyd, and I listen to metal. I listen to Animals when we were doing what was it? Album that makes a statement.
Mm-hmm.
I went with metal because I hadn't heard metal in a while, at least not all the way through. Echoes is a song I go back to quite often. But metal is an underrated gem in their discography, I think.
It's a great album.
I think it's right up there with, like, the whole... Like, I think it's, like, with Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, Animals, those classic... The Wall, like, that classic...
I agree.
Period, I think metal deserves... I mean, One of These Days, Fearless... Pillow of Winds.
I mean, mostly Echoes, though, to be honest.
The only song I really don't like is Seamus, because of the dog.
That song's quite tedious.
Yeah,
actually.
I had a dog once when I was listening to this album. We don't have a dog now, but quite a few years ago, I was living with a dog, and I put that song on, and she got up and she was like, started barking at the
I'm not
speaker.
surprised,
It was
yeah.
hilarious. It was hilarious. But yeah, but just for Echoes alone, I mean, my God.
Echoes makes it, to be honest.
But also, I think the first several tracks are really, really great, too. So, yeah, metal.
Mm-hmm. Good one. I find it hard these days to pick a favorite artist. Like, really, in actuality.
Yeah, it's hard.
I always say it's Pink Floyd.
See why I married her?
And my favorite album by them is Animals, but I felt like listening to The Wall that day, so...
Nice.
I picked The Wall, which is... I feel like I don't really even need to say anything about it. The Wall's a masterpiece.
It's The Wall.
I'm using that word again, but it fits, so...
Yeah.
It's The Wall.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
The Wall.
Moving on.
Get him up against the wall. Get up. Now there's one in the spot. All right, I'll stop.
The evidence before Anyway.
All right, two more. Number 29 is a nostalgia album. So for me, a lot of these I listened to were pretty nostalgic, as they tend to be. But there's one album, perhaps more than any other album, to me these days, that is super nostalgic. And I think it's because I don't listen to it all the time, but when I do, I just really love it. Another perfect album to me, front to back. It's The Slider by T-Rex.
Nice.
What an amazing album.
Nice.
Metal Guru, Telegram Sam,
all of it.
Rock On,
The Slider.
and the Slider. The song "The Slider" is the coolest song ever. Just the way Mark delivers those vocals, and he just kind of like, I could never understand. I could never be that cool. You
It's
know?
such a good album.
What a great album, classic album.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah.
You introduced that to me, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
When we were kids.
Yep, you're very welcome for that.
Yep. Remember one time...
Go ahead, tell the story. Go ahead.
One time walking along and singing a song by them, and there was the line, I was like, I'm gonna suck ya.
Oh, Jeepster?
And then my mom's like, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm gonna suck ya.
Yeah.
Ow, ow, ow. Mark just, like, radiated sexual energy, you know? It was wonderful.
Settle down.
Good old Mark Bolan. He's my man crush. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, moving on. Pretty much every album is nostalgic for me. Anything I really love gets really quite associated with the time period that I listened to it in. So, Hard-Headed Woman by Cat Stevens still brings me back to when I was 10 years old playing Majora's Mask, the video game.
Nice.
But anyway. But I chose Desperado by the Eagles.
Nice pick.
Which is an amazing album, first of all, and it just brings me right back. It brings me back to when I was living with my mom, and I would be in my room at night. I was finishing school, and I was really into sewing for a while, so I would just be like sewing away, and it was great. Being swept up in the magic that is Desperado. So
Yeah.
it was a good one.
There's a little bit of a little storied history with the Eagles and us too, but I'm not getting into that.
I love how you're bringing yourself into this, but
I have to. It has to be about me. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
moving on.
She's more interesting than me, to be honest. All right, the final one. The final number 30. Number 30.
Mm-hmm.
An album that needs a sequel. The last one.
Mm-hmm.
I chose Magica by Dio, which is a concept album.
Great choice.
And it's got, again, to reference us and to bring you into it, since somebody had to be snarky,
I didn't ask to be brought into this, just so you know.
I'm just bringing you in, so you can't say that you haven't been brought into anything. We're just joking, people.
It's past our bedtime.
Yeah, it's past our bedtime. It's like what, 9:30?
It's
Yeah.
it's
Oh god,
9:15?
it's 9:15. It's way past our bedtime. So no, Magica. So it's a later era Dio album.
It's great.
It's got a song, "Bring Her Into It," as long as it's not about love. Like gorgeous.
Beautiful
Some of
song.
Dio's greatest vocals ever.
I agree.
It came out in like 2000, and he always intended to make a sequel. In fact, I think it was originally going to be a trilogy, and it's a concept album with like a lot of fantasy elements into it, and just some really great songwriting. Craig Goldie on guitar, just ripping it up, and it has that Magica story at the very end.
So silly, yeah.
Where Dio just literally narrates the story of Magica, which I love. But yeah, he was actually working on the sequel before he died, which never got finished. And like I said, I think he was supposed to have a third one, and I would have loved to have heard a sequel because I think it's probably my favorite Dio album, like of the Dio band. I think it's even better than Holy Diver, personally. But that's just my very unpopular opinion. So Magica by Dio, would have loved to have seen a sequel to it.
It's a good one. So, I was trying to scroll through my iPod seeing if I'd be inspired by anything, and I ended up going with the obvious choice. I listened to Bat Out of Hell, and I think that I know there are 3 Bat Out of Hells, you might say.
Yes.
I want the 4th installment.
Where's Bat 4?
Where is Bat Out of Hell 4? That's what I have to say.
You know,
I want more drama, more passion.
That trilogy is amazing.
It is. It just is.
And people sleep on the 3rd album. I think the 3rd album is right up there.
I love the 3rd album.
The 3rd album is phenomenal.
I go back to that more than the others, actually.
As I said to you, though, when you said this, the only problem is they'd have to do quite a few cover songs because you'd have to Jim Steinman passed away, and you'd have to have at least like half the album Jim Steinman songs. But
True, but it can still be great.
yeah, what a good choice, man.
I know. I want like more intensely dramatic songs that go on for 2 minutes too long.
Yep.
Like the deep, like soulful. Meatloaf is like pouring it all out of him.
Oh yeah, of course.
Kind of music. That's
yeah, it's got to be like it's got to be like a Meatloaf who's like now in his 70s, like singing passionately to this like 28-year-old. Oh, yeah. Female singer, great stuff.
Oh, I love Meatloaf.
Yeah, that's such a good pick. That's honestly a better pick than mine.
I mean, Magica's great too.
Yeah, so you basically want the sequel to Bat 3. You want Bat 4.
Yeah, but I listened to Bat Out of Hell 1 because that's what I had access to when I was driving. So
yeah, well maybe because Jim Steinman passed away recently, maybe they'll do like a tribute to him. Bat 4 in tribute to Jim Steinman. You get that great artwork.
We can hope.
Michael Whelan did the artwork for that, at least the first album. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know who that is.
He does a lot of like science fiction and fantasy book covers.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, he's like super famous.
Cool. There you go.
Yeah, anyway.
Good career.
Yeah.
Michael whatever.
Michael Whelan, yeah.
Michael Whelan.
But yeah, that's great. We did it! We did it! Oh my god!
30 fun days.
30 fun days, one huge video. This was really fun. It got me to listen to a bunch of music, and you too, I guess,
same.
right?
Yeah, it was fun.
So you think you'll want to do this again at some point?
Something similar, yeah. Some other challenge.
We've talked about this, and we're definitely going to do something else. So thank you guys for tuning in. That was really fun. Thank you for both suggesting this and for doing this.
Thank you for doing it with me.
And it was fun. Why don't you take us out?
I don't know what to do.
I got it.
This theme song from Rocky. I don't know where that came from.
No, I got you. So we gotta make the most of our one night together. When it's over, we'll both be so alone.
Like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when the morning. Okay, this is.
There's more stuff to click here. When the night is over, like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone, gone, gone.
Will you love me forever? Anyway.
Bye, guys.
Cringeworthy.
Peace.